Session of intimacy with the world, Bnei Akiva. Really, as I said, we need like 10 full sessions at least to go through all the stuff we need to talk about. Last year we actually got more. This year we only have 5. That's what they're giving me. So I'm squeezing 10 or more into 5s. And last week, yeah, that's it. Good maths. But we've got to catch up a little bit of last week. So we're going to go start off with that. But just to give you the title of this week is we have a very important concept which I think everyone in their own world, in their own way, will get something out of if you tune into it. Yeah, it's not an easy concept, but I think it's something which if you focus, which is really the main point, it's all about focus, then you'll get something out of it. Like, last week I have to say you guys were focused, and we're a little bit later today, so that's all cool. 2 concepts, being effective and win-win. These are really foundational in relationships. What does it mean to be effective? If anyone can give me an idea, and then we'll summarize last week's and carry on with this. What would you say being effective? Like, what does it mean to use your time? You're here for how long? 6 months, 7 months? 9 months. And then now say you get into a relationship, so now 9 of that months is busy with that, or you have a relationship back home and you're still trying to hold on to it. So you've got to work out what's most effective use of time. That's part of life. Choice is learning to choose in, as Stephen Covey is the one I'm basing this on, choosing first things first. What's your priority? What are you about? What do you want to achieve in life? We mentioned this is where we have to go backwards again. What are your goals? That's last week's concept that we ended off with, the mission statement. I don't know if anyone wrote anything down. Did anyone, you're welcome to share if you feel comfortable. Did anyone write down something? What is it? What are your goals this year? What are your goals in relationships? What are your goals in life? These are 3 important points. Goals this year, because that's what's in front of you now. Goals, relationships, you have a goal. I mean, because the girl's going to have a goal. She wants to connect. She wants to get something out of it. Yeah, hopefully, like we said, we're talking about guys and girls here, yeah? We're not talking about other things, yeah? That was made clear last week. You want to ask a question straight off the bat? Oh, yes. So we mentioned last week, thanks for coming. Last week having a mission statement. So we already have someone who put something down. Yeah, that's it. Speak Hebrew. Now, try get close to a lady if you can't understand her. That's already a very important point. Communication. Now, you do have apps nowadays where you can talk and almost instantaneously it would translate through like voice or VoIP or whatever they call it. But the point is that you are relying on a very unnatural flow of communication if you're going to rely on Google Translate or something like that. So once again, we were trying to create, that was the beginning of the whole course of intimacy, is you're trying to create the most natural, connecting way with this other half, with this person, this woman, this lady, this soulmate you want to connect with. You want it to flow. If it's all disjointed, which does happen sometimes, and you have to live with that also, but remember there are other ways of communicating than just the words. So he wants to learn Hebrew, which is important. But then remember, there's also body language, there's also your energy, there's also chemistry. There's a lot of factors going on with communication other than just, in fact, this is an important concept that people don't know. But say you hook up with a girl, yeah, this happens. I don't know if it does. If it doesn't, I have a wife, Baruch Hashem. Now, how much of intimacy with your wife or your soulmate or your girl is based on physical or emotional? What would you guess?
Emotional. No,
what would be the percentages? What would you say? If you guess.
One relationship could have 70% more physical. 90% emotional.
He sounds like one of those hookup apps, like if you're working with that consensus Because you're both consensual adults and you're consenting through the app to hook up. So then he's correct. It's physical and that's the goal and that's the most of the focus is on that. But a normal relationship is what our friend here said, 70-30. Tony Robbins brings down it's actually 90-10. That's his, I don't know where they get these percentages based on Pew or some sort of survey taken or some scientific experiment.
It also depends how often you do that. Like you do that,
Yeah.
I don't know, every day. So it's actually, it's physical. You look at the body. Just like,
Yeah, but let me just explain something. This is what people don't get, and I think our friend here does get, is that a lot of the connection point with a woman, even if initially it seems comes over like you're saying, this whole physical, horny kind of vibe, you imagine that that's what's driving a woman, and you're hoping that's what it is, but a lot of it long term is going to be emotional. And that really is, unless they're like some sort of psychological, like gone through certain sexual traumas or something's happened in their life to reorganize their brain, like they were, God forbid, like this whole child sex slavery going on in the world. So they've been sort of educated to become like a sex toy. Most normal women who you're going to be interacting with, please God, are not like that. The nice young Jewish ladies here or outside of this program that one day you'll meet or in the right time, you're going to realize that 90% is emotional and 10% is the physical. Now maybe for you it's not, okay, you're a man, it's slightly different, built different, but in the end, this is what we're going to learn. The next point we're going to learn in the course, not just being effective in time, that means being on time, but we're also going to learn, but no, you have to leave. And then we have this side, we've all got that excuse. I'm a magic also, no, I'm not. I was actually a magic in a rehab program once. That was crazy. That was one of the craziest jobs I ever did. But all these guys were crazy. Like they were hardcore drugs, sex addiction, gambling, all the craziest stuff. And it was in Israel. And their approach was, if you go past the program rules, they put you in a dungeon. It was like army style, proper, like maybe worse than the army. Like you're letting a person. I'd go visit them. They're like pissing themselves in the dungeon. Because they're not giving them any way to get out of that place until they've understood the rules. It's like old school draconian ways of doing. And I worked in this place, I was like, oh my God, you've got it good. Yeah, let's just say. I know you don't have drug issues, but
Did the dungeon, did the theme of the dungeon, change based on what your addiction was?
It was pretty, if you basically acted out on your addiction, then you ended up there. Yeah? So it doesn't matter what it was. So for some women it was cutting. I mean, and then I didn't see so many women in the dungeon. It was mostly guys, yeah. But it was really the drug use that really they got very heavily punished. But I want to just come back to what we're saying. We want a win-win. That's the fourth point. We're jumping around a little bit, but this class is about two things: being effective and having a relationship with women. That means you have to look out for their good as well. I know that sounds a bit like, against the general rules of, say, a sex app or whatever, but your goal as a man is to realize the way you're going to be happy in this relationship is that she's happy. Now that is a very hard challenge. But there's a famous line from Gedalia Fenster: you don't want a wife who's a trophy wife, you want a wife who's going to win you trophies. You don't want a girl who's everyone's going to be like, wow, she's great, but then she's totally caught up with herself. A narcissist, all she does all day is take Instagram photos and you're just this annoyance, like a guy that she'll put up with because she's allowed you into her narcissist world. You want a girl that actually wants a relationship, and in that relationship, she's going to win you trophies. She's going to make you become the best you can be. That's the point of the line. You don't want a trophy wife, you want a wife that wins you trophies, and that means it's a mission together to win-win. And that means, to go back to last week's class, you've made the interaction, you've been proactive, you've gone out your way. You're not reacting to girls, you're being proactive, you're being positive. You're initiating relationships. Now, you've done that. The second point is, you have goals together. You have a mission together. There's certain common ground. Do you agree that you need to agree on certain things? We're not talking about who you vote for in America or whatever, or in Israel or whatever. We're talking about politics. We're talking about agreeing on life goals. Like you both want to live in this place or you both are into certain things, you have a similar friendship circle. You know what I'm saying, yeah? You understand this idea of like similar goals. That means, coming back to our friend here, he says he wants to learn Ivrit. Did you write anything else down? I'm sure there was. That's your main goal here.
If I don't get anything out of this program.
That's worth it. Okay, so Ivrit is important. Having ability to communicate, know Ivrit. Remember, Ivrit is not just whatever. It's very, throwing a little bit of rabbi stuff. Ivrit isn't just whatever. When you're learning Ivrit, you're learning the language that goes all the way back. It's like one of the oldest languages. And even Joe Rogan, we mentioned him last week, even Joe Rogan's impressed with Ivrit. Why? Because he says it's the only language in the world that has a numerical value to it. Meaning it's not just built in a linguistic way, it also has a numerical use, which gives it a very deep concept. Because if you think about it, all of coding and all of the science technological world is built through having a code, a numerical system. And this language that we have as a gift from our forefathers and foremothers all the way back has within it such a powerful spiritual essence. Not only is it the building block of the universe, but it's also got within it all the coding of creation. That's a very deep concept. It's good to know that. And if Joe Rogan knows that, you should know that. Yeah? Because he's not Jewish and this is our gift. We all have this. And you're all in Israel and you have ability to access this. Now, that's just a side point. Let's get to the concept of being effective. Using this time now, you have this amount of months in Israel. How are you going to go about achieving the goal of learning Ivrit for our friend here? Or for each of you, figure out what is your goal here. How am I going to make that happen? How am I going to prioritize that during this time? That means obviously learning about Ivrit in the Ivrit example, or in the relationship example, if you want to build a relationship. Now, I don't know if this is a great idea to do during the 6 months, if you want to learn Ivrit and also enjoy the program and create friends for life. Now, if you get involved with one girl, the chances are those other things are going to be a little bit less focused. But, you know, that's your choice with your time here, and that's her choice as well if she wants to have that relationship also. That's another point to realize. There's another person in the equation when it comes to relationships. It's not just about you. The idea that you're half a person and you need this other half to complete you, that's a very real reality in life where you can't do everything by yourself. So you are going to need people, and you are going to need friends, and you are going to need family, and you are going to need eventually someone to build a family with, please God, if that's one of your goals. And you're going to have to work that out. These are like life questions that you need to get to know yourself more in this program. And remember, how do you make her feel like she's important? How do you feel like she's a winner? She's someone you want to win with? Because I don't know, do you guys like watch, like, I know what you're into, like you have to give me some feedback, but you know, in order to really go about your thing, you're going to realize this other person is going to be very profound in your use of time, in your where your heart is. I don't know if you realize how much of space it takes up. That's one of the reasons why when I go backwards to some of my previous pre-marriage relationships, one of the things that it affected me deeply was how it consumed me so much. Have any of you had that experience with a lady where she just takes over your heart? Yeah. And that's all you're thinking about? Yeah, you've had that? You said yeah. So it's a real thing. I'm not making it up. And I don't think it's just like something personal by you. I think if you really open your heart to another person, and then they break that trust, or they cheat on you, or you cheat on them, or all the back and forths that go on. Like one of my stories, this ex-girlfriend I mentioned last week, she was like the ex, you know, because we're not talking about the one I met at Prince William's party, we're talking about now the ex, yeah? The ex that I met in college, or I knew her even before. I think I even kissed her one time, like in my garden or something, or some house party that I had. So we'd always known each other, and she was always around. Some reason I went to college. College was like 16 onwards, like 2 years before you guys came here.
What did you do in college?
I went to Woodhouse. So Woodhouse, yeah. My actual cousin, my niece, yeah. My niece just joined Woodhouse. It's funny because she just posted a picture of her joining Woodhouse, and everyone in the family, oh, didn't Ellie go there? And I was like, yeah, I went there. It was like on Facebook or something, because it's talking about the older generation on there.
What's Woodhouse?
Woodhouse is this like 2-year program college before university. So college, what would college be in America? What would it be?
High school.
High school, yeah. senior years, yeah.
Wait, so college is high school?
Yeah, so it was suddenly I was out of this Harrow uniform, very constricted environment, and now I was in college where I could dress how I want, and I wasn't just boys now, because there was a boys' school there, the posh private school. Now I was like with mixed, private, public, like it was a college, but it was a very high-level college. You had to get in there. Not everyone could just get in. But I got in, Lukshem, and now I'm with really cool scene, and I had a really good time there. I won like I was like voted in as the there was like some political different parties, and you have to vote, and I won the election, and I had a really good time there. I was in a band there. I did a model thing there. We used to do like shoots and you know even my wife to be was at that model thing. So that was funny how she was there that day, and I was walking down the catwalk. But one of the things that happened in college was this girl who I'd known for a while, and she was there, and suddenly, some reason, I started falling for her. I don't know why, because I'd known her before, and she was a bit like, she'd been around a bit, you know? So like, it wasn't like she was this holy, like, special girl, like she was around. But I got very tangled up with her, and at first it was good, but then because I was still like young, and I wanted to go travel, I went skiing on a ski trip with the college, and she wasn't there, and there were other girls there, and I said maybe we should just be called seeing each other. Do you know what that means? Like, we're not like in a relationship. We are in a relationship, but we're not bound. Like, if you see someone else, you can also, like, that kind of stuff. So I thought it would be a good idea. She thought it was a good, but it wasn't a good idea, because we ended up cheating on each other. Went around the whole college, who I cheated on and who she cheated on, and it was this whole thing. And anyway, we ended up back to just being boyfriend girlfriend, because that didn't work. And then, as I was getting more close to her, and she came out to my family for a meal, and for Shabbos night, because my family that much as secular as they were, they still had Shabbos night. And then this is just good for you to just hear a relationship. I went through just get some of these ideas. So now, I bought her a really nice dress, like a few $100, which is like hundreds of dollars dress, not normal high fashion dress. And the point was to go out for her birthday with her family, she'd wear the dress. And I went, and I sat with her family, and that's like, was getting like quite intense, you know, we're like spending each families and stuff, and everyone's met her now, my brother's friends, and they were telling me, all my brother's friends are bad influence. Remember I mentioned they were like my teachers back then, telling me what I should do, and this and that, you know, corrupting me in that way. And now, we're at this dinner table, and we're like, all my friends phone us, I think I had a mobile phone, and they're all saying, yeah, come out tonight, there's a big party in this and this club. So I said to her, do you want to go after the meal? We could go out to the club. She was like, yeah, let's do it. So we go out to the club, and I see all my boys, she sees all girls, and I go off to the fruit machines and start gambling. I had one of my issues, is to gamble a lot. And she went off, and the next minute I come to see her, she's in front of me in this dress, getting together with an old guy she always fancied. Finally, he decided he liked her, yeah? And she's snogging, whatever the word is, kissing, yeah, however you talk. And right in the dance floor in front of all my people, and they're all like, what's going to happen? So I don't know what to do, and I'm like freaking out. Initial reaction, do you want to beat the guy up? Yeah? Problem is, he was older and he had a lot more boys at that thing. So it would have been like a massive fight, we would have got thrown out. I don't know. It wasn't a good, right time. And I don't know, I just broke inside. It was, back to what you're saying, it was all consuming. It broke me inside. And I actually cried, which, like, when I went outside, I was like really hurt, because I thought we'd dealt with that already. And then she came and said, can you still drive me home? And I'm like, what? Now this is when I went crazy. I drove her home. In the dress, after she just went with the guy. And that's where you become like, you lose logic, you lose rational, because your mind, you suddenly, this heart feeling, this love, supposedly, and this fire, this feeling, it says when Ish and Isha, man and woman, there's Aish, there's this fire, Aleph Shin, we said Ivrit, it's a holy language, has a lot to it. So when Aleph Shin, Ish and Isha, if you take out the Yud and the Hey, the connection point, the divine name, you just get left with fire. So suddenly this fire started coming. And that was literally for the next few months of my life, this fire. Meaning I had to see her all the time at college, and it was all kinds of like weird stuff. We kept hooking up, and then I hear rumors that she'd been with the other guy, and I challenge her, and it was like this back and forth. And it got really out of control to the point where I mentioned my story. I was in Magaluf. Did I tell that story yet? So the summertime I went to Magaluf with all my friends. Magaluf's like Ibiza. You ever saw that Netflix thing, Ibiza? Yeah. So Magaluf's like the same, one of those islands, that kind of environment. So I'm in that, and I'm with all my boys, and they're going through their stories. We're all like in this 17-year-old stage where we're all starting to, you know, get fed up with the whole girl scene and our girlfriends. We're all a bit bitter, a few of us. So we're drinking a lot and just trying to work out what we're going to do with this time in this crazy like party island. And there was this, you want to hear this story? It's a good story. So there was this girl in the nightclub, like really tall. And she was what I'd call a nightclub girl. Have you ever heard of this concept? Like she was like the club girl. Like they must pay her or she gets... Yeah, I don't know, like they have girls who have VIP treatment in the clubs because it brings guys in and... Girl, I don't know if they're for hire, but something like that, yeah? It's some sort of like setup. I never quite could understand exactly what she was, but she was been there for a few months. She was from Wales, I don't know if that was important. But she was there, and she was like the hottest thing there from what I understood. And I was starting to... And one of the reasons why I started doing it, because I noticed my ex was there that night. She'd come on the same trip, and she was in the same club. So obviously, what do? Try and make her jealous. So I'm getting with this older lady and like, you know, this whole thing. Anyway, I didn't end up doing anything with her at the club, but I was trying to make that situation. And then suddenly we got in a fight with all, she was with all the guys she cheated on, all his boys. He wasn't actually on this trip, but all the boys were there. So then we got in a whole fight in the club, and we all got thrown out, and it was a whole mess. By that point, I was drinking something, it didn't really matter, I wasn't thinking anymore. So anyway, later that night, I ended up in another club, and she was there, my ex. And she started singing to me. It was a really weird moment. This is when I had one of these God moments. In secular guy, no one had taught to me Torah, nothing. I didn't know anything really about Judaism. I was standing in this club, and this girl was dancing in front of me, my ex-girlfriend, and we'd gone just through a fight. It was just now her with one of her friends, and I think I was even by myself at this point. So all that whole fighting thing was over. And she started singing to me this song that was very famous at that time. You're free, gotta do what you got to do, gotta live your life and be what you got. And she was singing it to me, and I had this moment of clarity, like I'm above this. This is not for me anymore. Like I don't need this girl. And I just felt like free, like bye. It took like months to get to that point. And I was like, fine, see you later. And I left the club. Now, it's really late, and I'm on my way, I'm by myself, and that girl sitting in a cafe, kind of drinking a beer by herself. And I'm walking past her, she gives me the eye, and she's like, goes like this. I come over to her, and she's like, I'm like, sit down, have a drink. She says, come back to my place. And I'm like, wow, I just went from this to that. I had this godly moment, and now this girl's asking me to her place. Anyway, I went back to her place, and suddenly, this was a bit weird. I don't know, it's probably even more extreme nowadays. But suddenly she's taking off all the extensions and the high heels, and she's not as tall, and she's not as, you know, I don't know if it's a thing, but there's girls that are not really, there's even some movie that came out for Uglies or something, I don't know if you saw it. But it's like that kind, it's like all fake, yeah? Like a lot of the stuff. And this is what we're up against with the other side, yeah? So I'm standing and she doesn't look as great, but she's not ugly, she's just not as great. And then, huh? No, now she said, can you come lie? Let's chill. And it was like 2, 3 in the morning at that time, 3 in the morning. And I literally hugged her from that point and didn't do anything else. No physical, no kissing, no nothing. And I just said, I just need to hug and I need to just work through what I'm feeling about this story, this ex. And she needed to work through her story with her ex and what she's doing there. And that was it. It was completely platonic. Like nothing happened other than the hug. And I left, and I came back to my place with sunrise, 5, 6 in the morning, and all my boys were just getting back, and they were like, oh, we saw you go off and I go. And I was like, nah, nothing happened, yeah? Honestly. And I changed. From that point on, literally, that was when my life became less about the physical focus with women, and I suddenly hit a point in myself where I felt like I needed to actually understand, one, that there's another person there, it's not just about me. And that heartbreaking made me feel a little bit what the power of love, what the power of connection is, and if it goes wrong, how painful it is. I don't know if you've ever been around divorces, but they get pretty crazy. There's like a fire, pretty bitter. Yeah, it's like the extreme form of a relationship breakdown. So I'd had it on my level as a teenager, and it took me a while to get over it. And Baruch Hashem, my wife was in the world, was in my eyesight at that point, my wife to be. And she was around, and even when this girl was still around here and there, my wife was there at that point, and we became very close. Not that we were in a relationship, but just very close friends. And then the rest of the story was last week's story about how I found my wife and the whole journey there. But the point was, what I'm getting at is the connection point is very important. Now, how does this tie into what we want to talk about today? What we want to talk about today, one, is if you have your mission statement and you have your goals and you've decided on this person now needs to be prioritized. This is a key in relationships. Do you all agree? Like, if you're going to have a relationship with someone, they need to feel like, a woman needs connection. You need to feel like a man, feel like there's something you're gaining from this relationship as a man. But as a woman, if she doesn't feel like she's getting your focus and your connection, she's going to feel let down by you, and she's going to make issues for you. And there's ways they do it. They won't say, connect with me. They'll do other things around it. You have to understand, women have a different way of communication. It's almost like another language. It's like you're trying to learn another language. This is one of the challenges. You've got to realize, I'm being really honest about this. You're dealing with someone who's speaking in a different way, a different form of communication. You have to figure out a language. One of the things my wife and I share constantly, which gives us a lot of humor between us, is reels. I don't know if you've ever seen these relationship reels. The reels, R-E-E-L from Instagram. Reels. No, reels. There's a lot of back and forth between us every day, a few different reels of funny moments in relationships. And it makes you realize how so many couples are going through the same up and downs, same difficulties, and it really is just a matter of just accepting how men are a certain way and women are a certain way. Now, there are obviously individual differences, and you have to figure that one out, and that's part of the fun, getting to know each other, getting to know what you agree on, what you connect on. But there's going to be a lot of differences. There's going to be a lot of things that are going to be different, how you process experiences. You go out, you're example, social experience. You go out, you want to connect to your boys, you want to have fun, and you want to have an experience, and she needs to be yeah, let me do that whole boy thing, with my boys. But she's not really wanting to be standing there by herself. She doesn't want you to just go for the boys. If you don't recognize that she's with you on this date or whatever it is, this social thing, she's going to be upset, and then things start happening. It starts, maybe she wants to make you jealous, so you think of her again. And you have to start using your brain a little bit, in terms of the relationship interactions. If you're giving her attention and focus, then she'll say go off with your boys. This is an example I've had many times. One of the things, if I'm really focused on my wife, she'll say, one of my friends comes in from London. I told you I have a whole crew. And I'll send you pictures if anyone wants to set up a WhatsApp. No one did last week, but last year you set up the first week. I'll send you pictures of a little bit what I was like then, so just get some context. And we can keep in touch a little bit about this whole conversation. But once again, it's up to you guys to do. I'm not going to force it. But the idea is that when my boys come to Israel, if I'm in a good place with my wife, she'll send me to go hang out with them. You understand? She'll she knows this is good for me to be with my boys, and she'll say go. But if I'm neglecting her and not focused, she's going to be no. And then it starts getting stressed, because this is good for you to be with your boys. You need to have men time. But you haven't given her what she needs. And she's going to start to get resentful when every time your boys are around, you're all excited. And when you're with her, you're what do you want now, kind of thing, that kind of vibe. Yeah? So they pick up on all this stuff. And if you are focused, this is being effective in your relationship, you'll get much more out of the relationship. One, we said before, intimacy is 90% emotions, according to Tony Robbins. So if you're emotionally there when she needs you, and even in the intimate moments, you're 90% focused on what she needs, her emotional well-being, being sensitive, it's all consensual, it's all about her. If she feels that, then you can fly together. That's the other 10%, then you can fly. But if she feels all you want is what you want, and you don't give a about her, and you just want what you want, she'll make you know it. And this is an important clarification in relationships, that women will not let you get away with being selfish in the relationship, and let you get away with with lack of focus. So this is a big challenge because we have these. Everyone agree? Who do you love more, your phone or your wife? You know, one of the reels that was going around was you're looking at the screen and she's like wanting like a hug or something, and so you think she's trying to sleep, so you just turn the light down on the screen, and you turn the volume down. You think, no, she'll go to sleep and I can just carry on. Then you put your headphones in. You're just like, I want to watch. Just go back to sleep. Or the other one is she wants your attention. So what does she do? She sticks your phone with the football match or the game on her head, on her forehead, and now you're looking at her. Yeah? I mean, these are like the kinds of jokes we go back and forth, but there's truth to it. It's not like just playing around. The point is that you start to realize it until you remove the phone from the interactions and actually look at her in the eyes. Eye contact is crucial. Actually start to pay attention to her emotional needs. Then you get a lot more out of the relationship. And that becomes effective. Because then your life, the things you want to do in your life, she'll empower you, like we said. She'll be a win-win. She'll say you have to be successful. And then by believing in her, you have to find out what she's into. It can't just be all about you. You have to find out, what are you into, lady? What do you want to do in your life? How can I help support you? How can I help give you the tools so you can achieve your goals in life? And if you do it that kind of back and forth, that win-win bonding, then you both become successful together. You know, there's this concept you have these power couples. Now maybe that goes a bit too far with their ambitions and stuff, because it becomes maybe a little bit narcissist within the relationship of how great they are. But because it's one part of being a win-win person is you also care about the people around you also, not just your husband and wife. It gives you a more mindful way of being in life when you're more effective and you're more mindful of those around you, that you want them to win and be successful also. So we're going back now. Let's remind everyone. What's the first thing we discussed last week? You have to make the interaction, being proactive. You have to go out and create a relationship. That means sexting and texting and all this stuff and profiles is not going to do it. It's not going to make the full relationship. It's until you encounter the person face to face and you start to talk to them and find out what they're about, create that relationship. Second, find someone who has similar goals. You don't want to just be whatever. That means you need to know your goals. Figure out what your goals are this year. We have one guy. He's got it for it. Each of you figure it out. Write it down. You'll have a much better year if you feel like you have a goal and you achieve it and you can tick it off. And you know what? You might even have time left over. So now you can find another goal, something else. Or you can even have a few goals, what you're going to do this year. The point is, when you create goals and dreams and visions of what you'd like to achieve, then you have much more clarity going ahead with the rest of the year. That's the second point. Third point is now, how do I be effective achieving those goals? And how do I find someone else to achieve that with? And when I'm with that person, how do I achieve a better relationship? That means more focus. Okay, anyone got any questions before we get to the fourth one? Yeah.
You said that relationships should be 90%
emotional and intimacy.
And intimacy and 10%
physical.
Right,
it's not me, it's from Tony Robbins, but it's based on understanding psychologically and stuff.
By relationships, you mean like a married couple, or do you mean any relationship? Because, I mean, if you're a rabbi, you can't be, I assume that you're not...
Yeah, ideally, obviously, yeah. We want ultimately like real long-term relationships, husband and wife, you know, trust, values, building a home. Obviously, that's what we want.
What would you say to someone that's...
But we're in a world where a lot of that is not happening. Yeah. So we have to be realistic with the reality. So if it's not done, the Torah and marriage, but at least in the process, like I mentioned last time when I worked at Yeshiva, what was the job interview that I mentioned? At least understand that a guy developing a relationship with a woman is better than just hookup culture. That's a step forward.
Understood.
Builds skills and builds understandings that you won't get in hookup culture. Hookup culture is just going to get your pleasures met. Yeah? With the other understanding of actually developing a relationship with a girl, you're going to start to understand. You'll be a step forward in understanding what a woman is, so that when you find the real one who's going to be your long-term partner, now you're able to really be more in tune with what women are about.
Yeah,
now, do you have to go through that whole up and down process of broken relationships? Maybe not. Maybe not.
What
Maybe.
would you consider, like, what would you tell someone that would want to do it the right way? Would you say, like, how would someone manage it 100%?
So the emotional aspect then becomes like after time, after you
True.
sort of get to know the person.
True. See, there has to be initially, if we're talking about the initial connection, that was last week's story, there has to be obviously attraction and some sort of basic, like chemistry. We mentioned it before, chemistry, a vibe. There's a similar flow, similar cultural connection, like you understand each other's. You know, what people think, I can connect with this girl from Thailand. Yeah? She's Jewish. I don't know how she ended up there. Jewish girl from Thailand. But you have very different cultural realities. All these kind of things create extra challenges. Like one of my friends got married to a Russian lady. Yeah. Now that's a challenge, but it was amazing how much they connected that overwhelmed the cultural issues that were there. The language, sometimes the culture issues, because they had such a strong, similar goal-based relationship, and there was such a good energy between them. And Baruch Hashem, you know, obviously things change once you have a child or more children, or you start doing different things in life. There are going to be changes, but if there's core values, there's values and there's core values. There are core values that are connecting the two of you, and what my wife and I are we're proof to this. I'm not the best husband, I'll be honest. Guys, yeah, let me just be real with you. You're not sitting here listening to someone who's got marriage down. I know a lot of the concepts, but I'm still a work in process. And you can meet my wife and ask her, and she'll be open about it. Yeah, I'm a work in process. I've got a lot to fix as a husband. But one thing that gives us success in our marriage is that we're soulmates. We know that. That is a very clear part of our relationship. We both know that we're meant to be together, and this is our soul relationship. And that lack of doubt and that clarity gives us ability to overcome all the storms of marriage and all the ups and downs and all the emotional difficulties, and it gives us ability to overcome. So that's the third element that we didn't bring into the equation of the 10%, the 9% is there's a soul connection.
How do you know you're a soulmate?
So one of the ways I felt with her when I went on a date with her, she was actually my only date. I didn't go, you know, when I was in Israel, there was this whole dating system. I knew straight away she was the one, and our first date I already like 100% knew. Because I looked in her eyes and I knew she'd be the one. That's a powerful way. One way is to see there's something deep about a woman in her eyes. The eyes are the window to the soul. To be able to have that kind of contact and feel like there's something so deep here, there's something so overwhelming, and it's not just attraction, it's something beyond that. Like, I knew that we'd had a previous connection somehow. Like, it was a weird feeling. Like, you ever had nostalgic feelings? Nostalgia, where you suddenly go into this, what's it called when you have deja vu, you have this moment. So we had this like all the time. It was this crazy feeling, like we're meant to, like, wow. And so when you're already touching on such an intense level, it's much greater than the physical and just or emotional. Yeah, what do you want to say, man?
I don't really agree with that.
You don't agree?
I don't agree.
Yeah.
If you're going through life, and every woman you meet, it's like, it has to be this like, I just know that she's the one for me. You're just probably never gonna marry anyone.
So this is an issue, like a lot of people who get married older, they're like, I'm waiting for that one who can be what you're saying, like who's going to overwhelm me with this like fireworks. No. I never said fireworks. That's where the mainstream Hollywood world has tricked us. They think it's this honeymoon Hollywood, like wow. Like there's a lot of factors here we've got to work out. We've got to work out one. We did give some other points. I didn't just say that. We've got to have similar goals. But that means a lot of self-awareness yourself. If you're self-aware, she's somewhat self-aware, and you're able to bridge that. Now, it was interesting. My wife said when we went out that she's much more intellectual. She was in a seminary and she was learning all this stuff. She felt very intellectual. And I came across as quite emotional. That was more like a bit more hippie, and I was like into music and stuff, more emotionally based. It was such nonsense. She was, after a while of being married or going on more dates before that, it was so obvious that she was totally emotional in her needs in our relationship, and I was more rational. But it just came off initially the opposite. Now obviously there are going to be a lot of like moments of you need to clarify. But that's why you need a bit of time together to work it out. It's not just hook up and everything's great. You've got to actually work out all those dynamics. But sometimes initially it's not going to feel right straight away. And that's important why you need this process of time to find out what are your goals, what is your commonalities, where do you bond? And can you go through the challenges of life together? That's a big question you need to ask. Yeah. Oh, he asked me how did I figure it out? That's how I figured it out. You got to find it your way, because maybe that doesn't work for you. You're not so spiritually like motivated. You're more like practical. Like, is she hot? Is she healthy? I don't know. I know what your reasons are.
I'm saying that much more important than feeling that she's the one who looks into her eyes.
Yeah.
She feels a very mystical thing. That's the thing that Hollywood people are talking about.
No, that can be Hollywood, but it's not mystical. Hollywood is all this like fireworks. Mystical is a very deep self-knowledge of spiritual moments.
It's like just two people staring into each other's eyes and this music, right?
Yeah, but that could be all physical. Hollywood's most likely all physical, like the way they portray.
I disagree.
Mostly.
People inside movies. Like, I don't agree with that.
People live in like a movie lifestyle, yeah? But the real life is you've got to find out, Chai B'Seret, they call it Israel. Real life is you've got to figure out, can I go through real challenges with this person? Does this person get my humor? That's just one aspect. But that's important. That's one way, one tool. If it doesn't work for you, don't use it. Remember, you're going to have a certain amount of tools in your toolbox with this relationship process. You've got to figure out which ones work for you. If this looking in the eye one just feels like silly to you, then don't use it. But maybe try it just as an afterthought. Oh wow, I actually really do connect to this girl. Be surprised. You know, nothing to lose to try. But then the other points, you have all these tools. And one of them is self-awareness, having clarity of your goals, having excitement with this person, enjoying the time together. You're going to spend a lot of time together. You've got to enjoy it. And as you get older, that time gets more and more. You know, this is your life partner, potentially. Yeah? You want to enjoy those special moments with this person. One of the other ways to figure out, are you excited to tell them things? When you first meet them, are you now excited to give them insights to your life? Do you want them to know about stuff, your secrets, your aspirations? Are you excited to tell them what goes on in your day? These are important points. Some of your struggles.
Is that something that can be developed? Can you develop somehow through yourself?
I think so. I think there is such a thing, because it says in the Gemara, if you want to get to spiritual mystical texts, it says in the Gemara that you have many soulmates, different level soulmates. So there's Ziva Grisha, and the idea of the one who's your ideal soulmate, and then there's Ziva Shady. That's how he explained that many people can get married to many people. Yeah, and it works. Sometimes the third marriage, fourth marriage. There's this concept there are different levels of zvugim, of soulmates. But the point is that if you can get it right the first time, and you can go through life together, that's obviously ideal. But you have to also be aware that there might be like stepping stones, meaning this relationship is just a stepping stone to find my real soulmate.
Yeah, but I'd say arguably that's one of the most confusing things about being in like a first relationship.
Yeah.
Because you don't know if what you feel is the same, could be the same with the next person, or like if this person genuinely is.
Well, one of the things you're going to come out of the relationship with much more understandings, much more awareness of what relationship is. Yeah. So you'll be better prepared.
I agree.
So that's one of the things. Like one of my relatives, his second relationship, he's so much better as a husband, as a second marriage, because he's figured out all the things he didn't do. He wasn't focused at all on the first one. He was more into gambling and other stuff, making money. And then suddenly he got divorced, and it woke him up. He was lying on the couch, sleeping on the bed in parents' house, and he suddenly woke up. And the second marriage, he put work and work and work into the relationship, and he's still married. And it's much better. And he's become a better person from it also. Yeah, go on.
Do you think nowadays it's like, because of the rise of social media, do you think it's more easy or more difficult to get into a relationship?
So that's why the first part of the class is a good question. All these are good questions. The beginning session was, we discussed the idea of being proactive, actually initiating real relationships, not allowing social media to be, social media has its tool. Networking is great. Everything you can even meet the person through the tools of social media. It could happen, it probably does happen. But not to rely on it. That's the key. Not to make it your main tool. Your main tool has to be you and her and relationship, actually communicating. face to face, being proactive, going out of your comfort zone and talking, initiating a real relationship. Not to rely on it. And also, a lot of my friends, when social media took over a lot of their lives, they made a lot of boundaries in their relationships about what they post, agreed upon boundaries. What they post, what they show, what the public is able to see, what they keep private. You know, this is one of the things I need to work on as someone who promotes people. I have to work on that. My wife doesn't want everything going on in our relationship to be promoted. Yeah, she doesn't. So I've got to work out those boundaries. As a guy who's a bit more altruistic, I have to figure out she's more introvert. I have to figure out how to make that balance. Because actually I'm going to go out there. What do you want to say?
Is it a problem that I don't like fat women?
No. This, you know, I'm really, I don't know if you guys, are you into comedy?
Yeah.
Kill Tony, anyone's into Kill Tony? Tony Hinchcliffe, his show? Best show.
No, I'm serious. I don't like fat
No,
women.
so this is like, there's a guy there called, there's a guy who comes on, he comes on the show, and he said exactly, that was his opening line, what you just said.
Like last year at school, this girl asked me out, and she was fat, so I said no. But the only reason I said no is because she was fat.
So one thing is, nowadays, I'd be careful with that. I'd be careful with that because there's so many things that people can do to get rid of that very quick. I don't know if you realize how you're all healthy, you all are like healthy guys. But have you not seen though how Zempic stuff, there's so much stuff going on. You can turn around in 2 months and she's no longer, no problem, thank you. She's no longer, I was happy to hear the question. She's no longer fat. That's the point, that she can change very quick. And we have tools nowadays. Now,
You don't want to go into a relationship with someone wanting it to change.
that's true. That's true. Now, a lot of that's where women, you have to be careful of this. You don't want to get involved with a woman who's going to want to change you. Because a lot of women, I don't know if you've had that experience, but they think they can change you and they make it it's like it's part of their like project. You're a project for them. Project, you know, changing whatever your name is, Bob. Yeah, I'm going to make Bob into Brad. Yeah, Brad Pitt, whatever. That's my mission, to change this dude. And that women get really into that. You don't really want to go down that road. It's not a good path. You need to be pretty clear. You have to communicate, this is how I am. Now I'm open to grow together, like work stuff out, but you're not changing me. There's a big difference. Having a growth mindset, we mentioned last week, is very positive. Growing together as a couple is exciting. It's actually enjoyable. Having someone force you to be something you're not, or something they want you to be, is crap. Is not a good relationship. Women need to know that. That means you need to communicate to them. Now they're going to have their things with you. And you'll say, look, I hear what you're saying, your issues with me. I want to grow towards making you more happy. And since we're a couple and we're real, and I want to make this work, I want to grow towards what you want or what you need on some level. But I can never be exactly what you imagine to be. Let's get to know what we actually are, and together we'll grow. Yeah, go on.
You feel like your soulmate is it meant to be? As in like,
Destiny.
you have one like out
Yeah, destiny, yeah. There is such a thing. I do believe in it.
What about like all the people
I believe
who are,
in
like,
that,
4
yeah.
years old and like, you know.
Yes, but there's a lot of situations. So one of the things that I've said, because I have a relationship podcast, check it out, it's called Relationship Flow. And one of the discussions I mentioned when this came up, because there's a lot of people not married, a lot of people not in relationships, it's actually becoming more and more common. There's like a massive world of males in America who are not with anyone. Not only that, not even getting sex. You're not even, I don't know how they're, I couldn't live with that. I don't know how they function. I personally, I feel for them, yeah, I don't know. But one of the things I spoke about in this podcast, that you do have a soulmate that you might not ever find, but you have ability to fulfill those needs through other things in life. For example, friends. For example, family. For example, projects, mission. You fulfill your larger dreams, and there just doesn't end up being someone to do that together with. My podcast is on Spotify. Relationship Flow, Ellie Goldsmith. Unity Flow is the other one.
So
Yeah.
something really strange about me
Yeah.
is I don't mind sleeping with a foul woman. What the fuck? Let me finish my sentence. But I cannot see myself in like long-term relationships.
What's the issue? Are you embarrassed about her? You're not
Yeah,
attracted?
probably that. Because I don't like you really are into her. Like fat women are kind of ugly. So why would you have sex with them? Because I'm horny.
I understand where he's coming from. Like meaning a woman facilitates my needs, like in the sexual sense, but she's not facilitating anything beyond it.
Yeah, exactly.
So she's not like providing anything beyond the sexual need. Now, in the Torah we have these ideas. There's a woman for sex, there's a woman for children, there's a woman for relationship. There's this concept. It doesn't work out very good. We had it last week's parsha, Ben Sora Mora. You end up with this whole crazy kid comes out of it. You have to kill him at the end of the day. It's a crazy story. It never actually happened, but the concept is there. You don't want to have these kind of, and even the way back in Bereshit, there was at the beginning of the Torah, there was this relationship that Hevel Kain, I think his name is, what was his name? Something Kain, yeah? He had two wives. One was for sex and one was for children. Yeah? And the one who was for sex was obviously not able to have children, like he'd done something to make sure she had children. And the other one was just so for pleasure, and the other one was for family. And Soulful Kain, that was the Soulful Kain. So that guy, the Torah, it doesn't talk so great about that. It doesn't work out so good. People end up getting killed, things kick off, yeah? So what we want is, we don't want that kind of purely sexual relationship. We have to have someone who you can go through life together. You can go out together.
Yeah.
So you don't marry someone who's fat. Don't have a long-term relationship with anyone fat. It's not going to work for you. Just be real. I'm the same. I've said to my kids, this will get me very unpopular. I said, no one in my house is allowed to be fat. Yeah? I'm that kind of guy. I'm like as fat as it gets. Yeah? Like everyone has to be in shape. Everyone has to be healthy. That's all good looking. It's like this. They call it the Goldsmith Guyver, because like my brothers, thank God, I told you they've got model children. You know, like no one's allowed to be ugly in our family. It's like a joke we all have. Yeah? It's not healthy, but thank God they're all good looking. It's not healthy. It's wrong. You're right. It's a wrong headspace. But that's why I said I'm not the perfect guy. That's not just a joke. I'm happy to talk to you guys with my faults of who I am. I have my faults. I have my lacks. And my wife knows that about me. One of the things she liked about me is she said, you're a bit quirky, you're a bit full of yourself, like you really know, you're really like, yeah, I don't mind, yeah? You're cool, man, it's fine. Yeah, listen, like I relate to what that guy said. I'm not like this holy rabbi saying, oh, how can he speak that way? I get what you're saying. So, I get what you're saying because I feel that way, and I'll tell you a story. I came home one time from London. Then we'll answer your question. We'll end off with his question. Yeah, I came home from London. I was like on some sort of fundraising trip. I was a rabbi in a program. I was a midnight rabbi. You can Google it; it exists. And I was this rabbi. It was cool. We went on this trip and and I was with this other fundraiser dude. I didn't raise much money, but I had a good time. Yeah, so I come back. And my wife's standing there, and we'd had a bunch of kids, and she was wearing like one of those more like Hawaiian kind of shirts where like more fat people wear, like there's more room. And I said, if that's my wife, so there was someone waiting outside, if that's my wife, I'm going back to London. Yeah? I said it to the fundraiser dude, and then we turned around, and it was my wife. So I come inside, and I listen to this. This is whack. I said to my wife, she knows the story already. I come into the house. I paid for this till now. I come into the house and I said to my wife, yeah, we were talking about the trip and this and that. And by the way, I said to this guy, I said, now, I told her this story. I don't know why. Like, it's like I said, like I've done some pretty stupid things, like driving my ex-girlfriend home, like stupid stuff. I told her this story. And she was like, oh my gosh, I can't believe you said this. Now, this is the worst thing you can say to a woman. That they're fat or they're this and that. Never criticize a woman. That's another rule. Don't criticize her. It doesn't pay. You suffer for years for it. Yeah?
That doesn't sound like a good relationship advice either.
What? No, it's not good advice. Don't do it. Now, look, what happened?
If she genuinely does something that hurts you, you should tell her that.
No. Wait a minute. We'll get there. So what happened was, she ended up, stopped eating, like, all kinds of like pastries, unhealthy food that she was as a pregnant lady, you know, you consume a lot. And she ended up becoming an exercise teacher, and she's like in great shape. And, you know, so I'm like, I made a mistake, but it worked out okay. And that's important to know that. You can screw up, but if you're persistent, you can screw up, you can say the wrong thing. Most men do. But if you're persistent and you're dedicated to the relationship, you can still get through it. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's about dedication. It's not black or white. You can screw up, you can do all the wrong things, but if you're dedicated, you can get through it, and it can come out okay. This is like a biddy evid, like a secondary way of dealing with things. There's a much better way of doing it, exactly. Now, you have to figure out what the better way is, because it's not always written down. Because each woman's going to have her own language. You're going to have to figure out how to say it in the right way. My way was wrong, but it worked out okay because I made up for it in probably another 20 other things. But you've got, what I'm saying to end off the class is that you have to seek out a win-win relationship. You have to seek out a relationship that's effective, that's focused, and that ultimately you're leading to long-term connection. A relationship when you're intimate, all the aspects are fully alive. The emotional, the physical, the spiritual, everything needs to be there. You want to have all the tools that we talked about. Our friend here is good, he wants tools. You want to need to have all the tools in play. You can't just think that one approach is going to work. That's one mistake people make. They learn these like marriage books or relationship books, or they listen to marriage advice. There's this Esther Perel, I don't know if you've heard of her. There's all these people out there with all their advice. And they're saying that. You can listen, and there's always something you're going to get, but it's never going to be the full thing, because you're going to have to put it through your personality, your reality, and for this person in front of you, and be very real. Get to know that person that you're trying to now create a joyful relationship. Figure out what's going to make her happy. Now, we have two questions, because we went over one. We'll do quickly two. Let's just say he was there first. Yeah, go on.
Are you saying that you shouldn't have sex with someone who's even in a relationship?
Yes.
And also,
yes.
You shouldn't.
100%.
I understand how you should start. How you start our relationship. You know, like.
Yeah. So anyone from the guru world, like the thought leader world, has already figured this out. That sex already like clouds your judgment. Because sex, like he said, if a fat lady doesn't even like her, that's still good enough for a man. It clouds your judgment. Now you're not thinking, you're thinking with your, if you know what I mean. You're not thinking with your mind, your heart, you're not fully engaged in the relationship. It just becomes a very low base level achievement. Now, if you're thinking in the full way, that means you first have to go through stages to get to that intimate moment. That's a process. We're going to talk about that in the later classes, about the process of getting to the intimacy. It doesn't just kick off straight away. And that's why they all recommend, if you can hold out for a few months at the beginning of the relationship, which is what I did. I got engaged to Bav and I got married Hanukkah. You hold out, and then you slowly build up a process till you get to the wedding night, till you get to the time where now you're together, or if you're not into the Torah religion way of doing stuff, but you at least wait. You don't just hit it off straight away.
I think not saying you should sleep with someone immediately. I think it's just saying why would it be smart to do that way after marriage is married.
We never hooked up. I told you we were. I don't know how, but we were. I wasn't that way. But somehow in that world, hanging out in nightclubs, house parties, being in my house, being in cars, situations all the time, we somehow made it to marriage. She was still a virgin at 21, and I was someone who, had experience, but growing out of that way of being to a woman, of just treating her like a sex toy, like actually being with a woman and treating her like a woman, not just what I could get. And what was your question? Sorry.
How is your advice different than the people who do the same exact thing?
What do you mean?
Because you said that, there are these other people out there who give marriage advice and whatever, and it's not good.
No, I never said not good. I said you can't take it. This is why, here's an example with looking in the eyes. You can't take, this is something you'll learn anywhere in life, with everything you're going to learn, in Bnei Akiva, everything you're going to do. You can't take one person's opinion and make that like the golden rule. You have to be open-minded and flexible in your process of learning things, that what works for you, what's good for you, how do you now connect to this concept. I've done this with the Rabbi Torah world. I've had a lot of different rabbis as my guides. It's a journey of finding what works, and often in the end I end up with finding the best part of that person and taking that on my journey, for me. And that's same with Now, with a relationship with a soulmate, what's beautiful is somehow it works out that you can just keep growing together till 120, till the end. And you just keep growing together. But that's because it's a different kind of relationship than, say, a guide or a leader or someone you're connecting with or a counselor or a therapist. Someone you're connecting with, they're for that time period. They're not for the rest of your life. They're just a teacher for that moment. Whereas with your wife, this is someone who's your other half, who completes you. And that's where you get to ultimately. Now, to come back to my advice is steps and processes. We've already had 4 points. Be proactive, interact, find relationships. 2, mission statement. Get goals, get dreams, get visions, what you want in life. Find another person that jives with that. 3rd, be focused when you're with her. Be effective with your time use. And most importantly, once you've done all those personal developmental levels, now you can really join with her, and now you can win together. And you make her win, she's a winner, you're a winner. You win in life, you win in your job experiences, you win in your social experiences. You want both of you to win. And she's investing in you, you're investing in her, and you have a successful journey together. Amen.